We're back. Welcome along to Transfer Talk. The very latest from Manchester United is coming up. We're live to Old Trafford. Remember, you can tweet the show at Sky Sports News. Use that hashtag Transfer Talk, and there's plenty of other ways to get involved. And we start with the very latest on Bruno Fernandes. His transfer to Manchester United has been pretty drawn out throughout this window, but we are edging closer to a conclusion. Let's cross live to James Cooper, who's at Old Trafford for us and can bring us the very latest. But James, before we turn our attention to transfers, we've got to start with that attack on United's Executive Vice Chairman Ed Woodward's house last night by a group of fans. What is the latest developments about what happened?
Well, first and foremost, thank goodness he wasn't there, neither with his wife or his two children. They were somewhere else and weren't party to that attack on their house last night. But Cheshire police are investigating. There was a mob of hooded Manchester United fans. I put that in inverted commas. They say they're Manchester United fans. I'm not sure they represent most of the Manchester United fraternity, but they threw fireworks, tried to get in touch on an intercom, and then daubed paint and sprayed paint on the property as well. So Cheshire police are investigating. Clearly there's criminal damage at stake there, and Manchester United have basically said if anyone is found guilty of this, they'll be banned from the ground, and they're waiting to see what the police say about it. I think it's really interesting on this one. Clearly, there are a lot of frustrations about Manchester United's worst season in the Premier League for 30 years. Not easy for Manchester United fans. We've seen pretty toxic songs here at Old Trafford the last couple of weeks about killing and burning the Glazer family and Ed Woodward himself. I don't think most Manchester United fans subscribe to that, and certainly don't subscribe to the attack last night, certainly online. A lot of people condemning that whilst saying they are still frustrated with the direction that the club is going in. And I think, to even suggest that Manchester United might have cooked this up themselves to get some nice PR for Ed Woodward and public sympathy, it's absolutely outrageous, the suggestion, almost as outrageous as the attack itself last night. And I think it just shows you the kind of discontent that's bubbling here at Manchester United. But clearly last night, despicable stuff, people overstepping the mark and putting a real shadow over the Manchester derby tonight at the Etihad Stadium.
Yeah, and obviously Woodward involved with brokering this Fernandez deal. Let's get the latest on that. It seems to be moving quite fast now after weeks of waiting. We've seen some pictures of him on social media at an airport. James, do you know exactly where he is?
Well, I think that's the greatest irony of all this. I think Ed Woodward would have been sitting there quite comfortably last night thinking, I've done the business for Manchester United and I've got Bruno Fernandes over the line after some protracted negotiations between Sporting Lisbon and Manchester United. Both had ideas about what they wanted to pay, and they've sorted out a deal, and the player is coming to Manchester. In terms of where he is right now, I think he's on his way to the northwest. I think it's a fairly relaxed procedure, and I expect him to arrive in Manchester this afternoon. I think Manchester United could do a medical today if they needed to do a medical. It doesn't matter that they're playing Manchester City tonight. I think all things being equal, though, they're quite relaxed about this. Bruno Fernandes has been playing regularly for Sporting Lisbon, their star player, touted as perhaps the best player in Portugal too. So I think they're fairly relaxed about a medical. I'd expect that to happen tomorrow. Maybe take sort of 4 or 5 hours, perhaps most of the day, and that's to get some sort of confirmation either sort of early evening tomorrow or maybe first thing on Friday morning. But I think Manchester United want to do a game tonight, get the Manchester derby out the way, let him perhaps see for himself what a Manchester derby is all about, and then the relaxed medical tomorrow and a signing for Manchester United fans to be certainly more overjoyed about, and certainly some positive stuff coming out of Old Trafford. 24 hours where everything so far has been pretty negative.
Yeah, so that's the potential incoming, but what about an outgoing? Looking like Marcus Rojo is heading out of Old Trafford. Where is he heading?
Well, he's not playing much football at the moment for Manchester United. He's not played for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer since November. I think he is kind of surplus to requirements, but has been kept in the fold because of the injury problems at Manchester United. But when you think you've got a first-choice centre-back pairing at the moment of Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire, you've got Phil Jones deputising, you've got the likes of Axel Tuanzebe, you've got Eric Bailly back from injury as well. We saw him training yesterday at Carrington, so there's enough players there, and you've got players like Nemanja Matic who can step in at centre-half, or even Luke Shaw at centre-half if they want to play a three at the back. So there's plenty of players there to do that. So I think that means that Marcus Rojo is probably at the long end of the list, and you've also got Axel Tuanzebe coming as well. So he'll get. Manchester United are amenable to a loan deal with Estudiantes. It's where Marcus Rojo started his career in Argentina. The loan deal, I'm led to believe, would stretch over to the summer, but nothing has been agreed as yet. And in terms of other positives for United, well, they're trying to get a goalkeeper through the door as well. He's an England under-20 international. He's called Nathan Bishop. He's been playing for Southend and, of course, Sol Campbell. He's undergoing undergoing a medical today, so Manchester United are moving pretty quickly. They're getting players in. I think the only question mark is perhaps about a striker. I think they'd love to do a deal if they could. I think finding that player and bringing that player in looks probably more doubtful as the hours go on.
Okay, James, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed. Yeah, so this Fernandez deal, it does look like it's moving closer, although I am sure I've said that quite a few times so far in this window. But there has been another development this morning involving the Portuguese Stock Exchange. Stay with us for this. Anton, just explain, how does this link in with this potential Fernandez move?
Usually that phrase, Portuguese Stock Exchange, would go, oh, a bit. But no, this is actually interesting, so stick with us. So, as a listed company, Sporting have to release any details of sales or any major financial transactions. So, they've suspended their activity on the stock exchange while they await for this, quote, major announcement. Now, obviously, yesterday, speculation of a deal being close with Manchester United led to, well, their Sporting share price rise quite significantly, and that's a big deal because Sporting obviously have had financial problems as well. So there's a lot of eyes on it. So in order to keep sort of competition fair, they've suspended trading on it until they get this announcement done. As we know, we understand the fees are around 55 million euros up front, with 2 additional add-ons of 15 million euros. One relatively easily attainable, one more difficult to attain if the player, for example, wins the Ballon d'Or, Manchester United win the Champions League. I wonder which one's more likely. But we'll, it's that kind of, it's a big impact on Sporting's finances, which has a bigger impact for the business, on a much wider scale. So that's why we've seen this development today.
And I think frustration is probably the word that we can use when summing up how some United fans are feeling about this situation. Actually, Matt has just tweeted in 4 minutes ago. He says, I'm so frustrated as a Manchester United fan with the Bruno Fernandes situation. He also says the Paul Pogba situation, the striker situation, we need to sort it out now. And I think that's quite reflective of how some United fans are feeling. How much of a boost would this give, not just the fans, but the Manchester United squad as a whole, if they get this one over the line?
It's a huge signing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's big money, big player. It's all about bringing experience in, but he's still a very good age. He's mid-20s. I liked his attitude. I said it this morning with Good Morning Transfers. I really liked his attitude when he didn't get the move to Tottenham. He was in tears for Sporting Lisbon in the summer. Look, they're 6 points behind Chelsea. A couple of wins. It's not as if Chelsea are running away with it. They've lost 8 games this season. No one wants that top 4. And United are still in all the cups. Europa League is a real slog. A round of 32, it's not round of 16, it's a round of 32. He's going to be a massive signing for them, a real boost, because it's great to have young players coming through. But for me, it's always good to have them at the right time. There's so much expectation on their shoulders, and you don't want that at such a young age. You want them to flourish. Even Harry Maguire's got the captaincy probably a bit early than what he would have expected. But this would give the whole team and Solskjaer himself a boost.
Yeah, you talk about the expectation, but this is a guy that's being spoken about as being the best player in Portugal at the moment. So he is going to come in with quite a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
No doubt about that. I think there seems to be a bit of a similarity between how this Bruno Fernandes deal has played out and then what happened in the summer with Harry Maguire as well. Yeah. All of the summer window, Harry Maguire was the story. We were talking about how much Leicester wanted for Harry Maguire and how much Manchester United were prepared to pay for Harry Maguire. And in the end, Manchester United paid the money and got the player. But it seems to have happened again in this transfer window where Sporting have named a price, Manchester United have said we're not willing to pay that, and then as it's got down to the nitty-gritty of the transfer window, United have ended up stepping up and paying the money. I think there's a feeling at United that they would probably overpaying for players at the moment. Now, whether that's because of the position they're in or the selling clubs know the power, the financial power of not only Manchester United but the Premier League as well. But it has been a difficult time, no doubt, for Manchester United.
Yeah, but there is this, obviously, the cloud of negativity about Man United's sort of business in the transfer window. We knew, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that, and Ed Woodward has said it, it's going to take 3 or 4 windows to get what they want in terms of their 11 or their squad. Look at what they've done so far in the 2 windows. It's not been that bad. In the summer, we were all sort of waxing lyrical about what the business they've done. Maguire came in, Wan-Bissaka came in, Daniel James came in, and now Bruno Fernandes. That's not that bad. I think the problem for them is the Haaland deal. Obviously, that falling through, obviously started to kind of bring that negativity up, not knowing the situation with Paul Pogba. But I think if you just look at the 4 signings as a whole over the transfer windows, summer and this one, I think it's actually pretty good business for them.
But we all knew Bruno Fernandes has been a target for certainly this window, and they looked at him in the previous window, and any casual observer can see what Manchester United need. They need creativity and they need leadership, which is exactly what they're getting through Fernandes. The difference between the window now and the window in the summer is they could dilly-dally in the summer. There were no matches. Manchester United have played a host of matches this month. How many more points would they have in the Premier League if they'd have had Bruno Fernandes on their side? That's the problem. That's the frustration from the fans, and I think that's understandable.
Yeah, and something I wonder about as well is that, you know, Manchester United have brought this player into the spotlight more. And then they're dilly-dallying. I like that phrase that you used, Dave. You did. I like a dilly-dally. And it kind of makes me wonder why other teams haven't come in for him. Because if Manchester United are taking their time, not wanting to pay the money, why has another Premier League club not gone, do you know what, we're going to sign him?
Well, I think Spurs have moved elsewhere. They're signing players. You know, he's a very, very good player. Yeah. But it's expensive as well. But United have to get him. He's a key for Manchester United. It's a massive signing for them. It's big money, very big money for January as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester United fans, let us know what you think. Use that hashtag transfer talk. Get in touch. But let's get the state of play now. And Dave.
Steven Bergwijn has signed a 4.5-year deal at Tottenham and has taken the 23 shirt vacated less than 24 hours ago by Christian Eriksen. Arsenal are close to agreeing a deal with Flamengo for defender Pablo Mari. Inter Milan are considering pulling out of the race to sign Chelsea striker Olivier Giroud this month. We're going to talk about that a bit later in the show. AC Milan have rejected a bid from Bundesliga side Hertha Berlin for Tottenham target Christoph Piontek. That's according to Sky in Italy. Sheffield United are closing in on a deal to sign the Dutch striker Richaro Zivkovic, and Southampton are set to complete the loan signing of Kyle Walker-Peters from Tottenham.
Right, news of a done deal to bring you now. Anton, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Wolves have completed signing today Enzo Loadis, who is a young holder midfielder they've brought in from Dijon on loan until the end of the season. If he impresses, then they can make that deal permanent. They've agreed an option in that contract as well. He'll mainly go into the under-23 sides, but I expect him to be named also in the Europa League squad going forward as well, so he may get a chance in that as well. And as we said earlier, Wolves have also got another player coming in for a medical today as well, so it's exciting times at Wolves. They're finally getting their business done.
Yeah, Wolves fans, let us know what you think. Stay with us. Still to come on Transfer Talk. Tottenham have secured the services of Steven Bergwijn, but could there be more though before the window closes? Hi there, welcome back to Transfer Talk. We are going to get the very latest from Arsenal. We have been telling you that they are close to agreeing a deal with Flamengo for Pablo Mari, and it seems that Flamengo have said goodbye to the player, so this one looks like it could be imminent actually. Flamengo, they tweeted just after 12 o'clock alongside a video of the player's best bits, and it roughly translates as the time has come for us to say goodbye to this defender who arrived at Flamengo to make his mark in our history. Pablo Mari, thank you for everything. So obviously we are awaiting confirmation that move to be confirmed to Arsenal. We are expecting it's going to be a loan move with an option to buy. The deal worth £12 million if Arsenal were to exercise that option to buy in the summer. The loan fee thought to be £4 million with a further £8 million to be paid if they take up the option. And further to this, we also know that Flamengo have signed central defender Leo Pereira as a direct replacement. So another sign that this one's edging closer, and Flamengo saying goodbye to Mari on social media. Addy, Pablo Mari, is he exactly what Arsenal need?
Yeah, and kind words as well from Flamengo there. He was only there for such a short time. So to say he's already made their place in history, I guess that kind of shows how good a player they think he is. I watched him against Liverpool in the World Club Cup, and he was fantastic in that as well. So I think Arsenal aren't getting a good player. We know they're struggling defensively right now. More to injuries, and I think Arteta not really knowing who he trusts at that back line. Mustafi's injured slightly, sprained ankle. He'll probably be out for a couple of games. Callum Chambers, we know, is probably out for the whole season due to that cruciate knee ligament injury. What I do wonder, though, is what happens to William Saliba when he comes back from loan. Obviously, he's going to come back. What happens with him? You feel like there's going to be a lot of shuffling at the back in terms of finding that kind of best centre-back pairing. Will it be David Luiz and Mari? Will it be William Saliba, Mustafi, Socrates? What's going to happen there? So, look, he's got options, and that's what they need. They need options. He's a left-sided centre-back as well, so you might be able to cover as a left-back as well. So you're probably getting two players ultimately there. He is on loan, obligation to buy. Is it obligation to buy? Option to buy as well. So let's see what happens, but definitely a positive signing for Arsenal. They did needed cover, at the centre-backs, and they've got it now. The
reason he's so loved at Flamengo is because he was a big part of them winning the Copa Libertadores. That's obviously a massive, massive deal in South America, a massive deal for a club like Flamengo as well. So the impact he made in a relatively short space of time in Brazil cannot really be underestimated, considering this is a player, as we said previously, that's had 2 loan stints in the Segunda division in Spain and 1 in the Eredivisie. So not a massively heralded player. It only cost them around £1 million to bring in. And then all of a sudden, they're potentially selling him for 12 times what they bought him. And they've won the biggest competition in South America. So Flamengo are absolutely delighted.
Yeah, in terms of hitting the ground running in the Premier League, is he the type of player that will?
I think that experience in Manchester City will be absolutely huge. Training with the best players in the Premier League week in, week out, working with Arteta, be it only in pre-season, before going out on loan. That's the advantage he has on the other defenders that they looked at in this window. And they have looked at other defenders. We've obviously talked about Matt Bianco and others like that. So, yeah, it's a big advantage he has because he will walk into a Premier League changing room and know all the little things that's different about English football compared to other players that would come in.
Yeah, and you mentioned other players. Another player that they are looking at is Southampton defender Cedric Soares. What do we know about this situation?
Potentially, this might be a case of it just makes sense. Quite often at the end of a window, you see clubs going, well, we still have a need. Who's available? And Cedric Soares has 6 months left on his contract, and he's one of Southampton's biggest earners, so they wouldn't necessarily mind, getting him off the wage bill. We know Kyle Walker-Peters is potentially coming in at Southampton, so they've got their replacement lined up. So it may well be a case of a common sense sort of interest. Would he fit in well? Well, he brings experience at right back in a position where they've struggled all season. So at the moment, there's nothing specifically happening, but again, common sense dictates he will be on a list of targets that Arsenal want a right back before Friday night.
And that Kyle Walker-Peters situation, Michael, what is the latest with that? Does that move look like it's happening?
It looks like it's going to be Southampton, which is a huge blow to Crystal Palace because they really wanted to replace Aaron Wan-Bissaka with Kyle Walker-Peters. They didn't get that right back in the summer. Now, they really do need a right back. They want a right back, a left back. But for Southampton, it's a good move for them. And it's a good move for Kyle Walker-Peters as well. He's had a bit of an up and down few years at Tottenham. He's had a couple of games in the team, got man of the match against Newcastle, but then he's made the odd error. And then he's out the team. And when you've made an error, you want to play again. And he's not had that opportunity. I wondered if he was going to go maybe on loan to a championship side at the start of the season. That never materialised. Look, if he goes to Southampton, that's a good club, good manager, all round a good move.
Yeah, Brett, let's move on to talking about Olivier Giroud. His name's been linked with a possible move to Tottenham. We were talking about it in Good Morning Transfers, and I wonder just how much stronger that link might become following the news that Inter Milan are considering pulling out of the race to sign the Chelsea striker this month. This is according to Sky in Italy. Dave, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, well, essentially it's down to the size of Inter Milan's squad now. There's a feeling or a bit of concern from Inter Milan that their squad may be too big to bring in Olivier Giroud as well. They would need to move more players out of their squad. Striker Sebastiano Esposito, midfielder Matthias Vecino, who Manchester United had a loan bid rejected for. They were linked with moves away from Inter this month. Everton were also interested in signing Vecino. Now, their departures would have trimmed into squad size, obviously, to create space then for Olivier Giroud. But now it seems like both of those players are going to be staying at the San Siro until the end of the season at least. So that puts it on hold, potentially, a move for Olivier Giroud, unless something changes over the next 48 hours. Inter are still keen on Giroud to commit to signing for them, whether that's now or whether that happens in the summer when his contract at Chelsea expires. But for the moment, it's looking like a difficult situation for Olivier Giroud. Obviously, there's whispers now from the Italian end of this deal that maybe Tottenham are pursuing something for Olivier Giroud. That's something that we're looking into here at Sky Sports News from this end. But at the moment, it's possible that Inter are pulling out of the race to sign Olivier Giroud.
Yeah, and it is kind of the classic domino effect of, and it's not necessarily players moving, it's actually players staying that's then having an influence on Giroud's future. But I guess maybe Inter's loss could be the Premier League's gain, in the sense that other clubs might come in for him, and actually he's a great player to see playing in the Premier League, Addy.
Yeah, and they're going to have to move quick. I always struggled to understand the Inter Milan deal as well. I know it was a 2.5-year deal, so for Giroud it was a fantastic deal, but again, looking at what they've got in the forward line, Lautaro Martinez, Lukaku, and now Alexis Sanchez is back fit as well. So you kind of felt like, where was he going to get the minutes to almost force his way back into that Euro squad? Tottenham seems like a great fit, right? He's based in London, so he doesn't have to move. Tottenham played that one up front with Son and Moura maybe coming on the wide, so it makes sense. I guess for Giroud, when Kane does come fit, what's going to happen? But look, there are options out there. So many teams need strikers. Newcastle desperately need a striker, we know that. But Tottenham seems a good fit if it can happen. Obviously, Sky and Italy are saying that there could be a possible move there, but we wait to see what happens here.
And I think we have to consider the Chelsea side of this as well, because Frank Lampard has been talking all window about getting another forward player in. Would he really let Olivier Giroud go in this window if they were no closer to bringing in someone? We have to consider that.
To Tottenham as well. I mean, really? Are Chelsea going to let Olivier Giroud or any player go to Tottenham? They're, as Michael said before, there's only 6 points between the two teams in the race for the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, there have been these whispers from Tottenham. Michael, do you know if there is any truth to these rumours?
I got it from a very, very good source that there is interest, and that Olivier Giroud, I understand, would welcome the move. Now, terms and conditions apply. He would like to stay in London, that's fine, but as Anton alluded to, and I've said on Twitter, and I apologised on it yesterday, because Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur do not do business. Look, there's the North London derby, that's the derby for Tottenham and Arsenal, but Chelsea-Tottenham is a fierce rivalry, and it goes to board level as well. Willian, Frank Arneson left back over 10 years ago. It's a real rivalry that goes right up. I don't see how Chelsea will allow Olivier Giroud, because if he hits the ground running, Tottenham could dislodge Chelsea for that fourth spot. So I cannot see it happening, but I think there is truth in it, yes. However, I still do believe that Spurs, if they get another striker, I would still be surprised if that man is Olivier Giroud.
Yeah, Chelsea fans, Tottenham fans, let us know what you think about that. Use that hashtag transfer talk. Stay with us though, because we're going to be turning our attention to Crystal Palace next. Will there be outgoings at the club? Plus, Watford are chasing a new defender. We will bring you the very latest next. Hi there, this is Transfer Talk. That transfer clock is ticking down. Plenty of clubs still looking to tick off their transfer wish list. We're going to take a look at Watford now. They are, of course, still looking for defensive reinforcements. And if you turn your mind back to the summer, they did, of course, have Danny Rose at their training ground on deadline day. They couldn't get that deal done. They've been linked with a potential move for Fulham defender Joe Bryan in this window, who's been so impressive for Fulham so far this season. We know they're keen on Burnley central defender Ben Gibson. They had a loan with an option to buy offer turned down yesterday, but they are expected to return with a new offer before the deadline on Friday. Nigel Pearson, of course, he's done some job since he joined Watford, lifting them off the bottom of the Premier League table, out of the bottom three, although a draw and then that defeat to Aston Villa seen them drop back into 19th. It is so close at the bottom, with them only in the relegation zone on goal difference. So the question is, how important is it that Watford take off that wish list, bring in defensive reinforcements if they want to survive in the Premier League? Anton?
Massive. Can't take any risks. I mean, as good a job as Nigel Pearson has done, and as sort of cheery as he is with the results, I was there last week, and the place is there's a great atmosphere around the place. Yeah. They're still second bottom. They're second bottom in the Premier League, regardless of that shows how good a job he's done. But if he feels there's any potential problems, if a player goes down and he doesn't trust who's coming in, that's the difference potentially then between them staying up and going down. So if he feels they need a centre-back, they need to back him and they need to get one in by Friday night.
Yeah, and I mentioned there, we know that they're keen on Burnley central defender Ben Gibson. They had that loan with an option to buy offer turned down yesterday, expected to return with a new offer before deadline day. Dave, would this be a good signing for Watford?
Well, he hasn't played a lot of football, and it's not just Watford who were looking at Ben Gibson. A lot of Championship sides, Fulham, Middlesbrough, Huddersfield, all looking at Ben Gibson. And I couldn't quite believe this stat of his Premier League.
Yeah, we all had to kind of scratch our heads and think, hang on a second.
Just to check, when he joined Burnley, it was a joint club record fee for Ben Gibson. And he's only made one Premier League appearance since joining. And that was a start, and he was only played for 63 minutes in that game. So he's obviously had a difficult time of it. At Burnley, but we couldn't quite believe that stat that he'd only made one Premier League appearance for Ben Gibson. He had an injury at the start of his time at Burnley in the summer of 2018. That kept him out for a good couple of months. But he's just not been able to force his way into Sean Dyche's plans. Now, Burnley's stance on this is that they won't let him go until they can get in a replacement. Have they got the opportunity now to get in a replacement before Friday? That's the question. But for Ben Gibson, there's no doubt that he wants to go and play football.
Yeah, and he would get the game time at Watford, presumably, Anton. He would get into the team because they need that defensive reinforcement.
They do, and it's just the difference between going. It's so tight at the bottom at the moment that goal difference is going to play a huge part, and the reason that Watford are in the relegation places is because, you know, even Bournemouth, who've been sliding, have got a better goal difference than Watford. So again, it's that taking risks. It's that it's at the back. It's so important, isn't it? That, you know, you can't. We're such a defensively solid team, Watford, but they don't score many goals. So therefore, they need the best defenders possible. Ben Gibson was going to be the next cab off the rank in terms of England selection. We were talking about him in the same sentences as the likes of James Tarkowski and these kind of players who are going to come through to the England squad. And he's just, yeah, like you said, the forgotten man of the Premier League.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one anyway. Watford fans, let us know what you think. Hashtag transfer talk. We're going to move on to Tottenham now. They've signed Steven Bergwijn from Eredivisie side PSV Eindhoven. It's a 5-year deal until 2025. He'll be wearing the number 23 shirt, but Michael, he's not necessarily a straight replacement for Christian Eriksen.
No, and it's not them being cheeky, he's got Eriksen's number. It's because of LeBron James, Michael Jordan and David Beckham, his 3 sporting heroes. Yes, exciting. It could be a good January for Tottenham all in all. You know, it started as a frustrating one, losing such a key player in Christian Eriksen. But if he comes in with Gio Lo Celso signing permanent now, and Lo Celso is going to be a key part of this first team now, and we've seen it. People forget how long it can take people to bed in. He also had a hip injury that ruled him out for a couple of months. He played in the Copa America for Argentina. I think Lo Celso is going to be a real key player for Tottenham Hotspur. Now, got some quotes from Bergwijn as well, and he said, first impressions, first of all, I love to see that you beat Ajax, talking about Spurs in the Champions League semi-final last season. Obviously, you know, he's been at PSV since he was a very young lad. This is a big club that plays good football, and that's what I like. It's an amazing move for me, an amazing club. Just look around the training ground. It's amazing. It's an honour to be here. I spoke with the manager when I was a young boy. I looked up to a coach like Jose Mourinho, and now I play for him. There's 2 key things for me. When players are joining Tottenham Hotspur now, they're talking about the training grounds, which is one of the best in the league, and the stadium, which for me is the best in Europe. Bayern Munich fans might argue, but it is one of the best in Europe. And talk about Jose Mourinho as well. Spurs are now have to bring those top calibre players into the club to match the facilities. Hopefully it'll come out. Look, we can watch all the videos online, show reels, you name it, of how good these players are. You know, Bayern players sometimes in France and Holland come with risks. Spurs have had it with Vincent Janssen. But all the reports we're getting is this is a real talent. Yeah, one thing I think Tottenham fans are going to love, Jose Mourinho will love especially, is this guy's work ethic. There's a fantastic piece he's done for the Players' Tribune where he talks about, as a kid, having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 2 hours drive to Eindhoven, his dad asleep in the car while he trained. This guy has worked for this moment, to join the Premier League. And as Michael was saying, he's one of these players that in big games will come through. The rivalries bring out the best in him. I can see Spurs fans just having a huge sentimental attachment to this guy, even after one game. Even though the fact, and he's a direct runner and he's going to excite fans. This could be a huge uplift to the club if Bergwijn hits the ground running.
I think just to sorry.
No,
I think just to temper things slightly, I think Tottenham supporters may have to have a bit of realism and think that it might take him a little bit of time in order to reach elite level in the Premier League. If you're talking about the Eredivisie not being one of the top 5 leagues, then you have to look at what he's done in the Champions League. 7 starts, no goals, 2 assists, and that's 12 Champions League appearances. Now, he's going to be a key part of the Dutch team for the European Championships in the summer, particularly after Memphis Depay's long-term injury. So there's no doubt that he is a key player for the Netherlands going forward. It may take him a little bit of time to settle in at Tottenham, but I think what it says to me is that Tottenham are working on a longer-term plan here. You look at the signings of Lo Celso, who we've mentioned, Ndombele from the summer, and now Steven Bergwijn as well. These are players who will develop over time and will probably increase their value in the next 2 to 3 years. Are Tottenham shopping in the same market as a Liverpool and a Manchester City? Maybe not. So is this a new way forward? Are they looking to the future with this signing? I think that's what it says to me.
Yeah. Addy, how do you see it? Is he someone that is being brought in to develop? I mean, what else do you know about this player that perhaps Tottenham fans
I
don't
don't
know?
think he is. I think he's a player that's been brought in to come in and get the ground running straight away. You look at what's happened with the Kane injury. What's happened is it's full Son, who used to play on the flanks, to almost come in and be central. So there's a glaring hole there now.
Yeah.
He comes and fills that hole. He's very pacey, very direct, but he can score goals as well. Dave Reed sort of just read off his stats there for the Champions League. I'll counter that by reading off some of his stats here.
He's in trouble.
We're
He's in
doing stats
trouble.
here now.
Reverend.
Let's go.
The right reverend.
Yeah, he's been obviously made his breakthrough at PSV 2014 and 15, but very young. But sort of the last 3 seasons where he's really broke through. 17-18, 32 games, 8 goals, 7 assists. 18-19 season, 33 games, 14 goals, 12 assists. And this is just in the Dutch league. We're not talking Europe here as well. And so far this season, 16 games, 5 goals, 10 assists. So we're talking about a guy that can create and score, and that's what Tottenham needs, especially with Eriksen going, who kind of had that. Stop laughing.
I know, he's really chuffed
Stop
with himself
laughing about the
because of
reference.
that. Yeah.
Look, so I think they're getting a player that can come in straight away. And it is like, I think we spoke off camera about, this is like Tottenham 2.0. A lot of young players. You mentioned some there, but let's all talk about Japhet Tanganga as well, who just reminds me of a Ledley King coming through. I remember when Ledley King came through at Tottenham, built like that, pace, strength. So I think Tottenham fans should be excited.
Yeah, I mean, Lo Celso, 23, Ndombele, 23, Cesc, 19, Bergwijn, 22, Jedson Fernandes, 21, Tanganga, 20, Sanchez, 23, Foyt, don't know whether he will stay or not, 22, Skip, 19, Winks, 23, Dele, 23. It's like they're reading lottery numbers. Parrott, 17. So, yeah.
And then you add in the experience they've got as well with Alderweireld and Vertonghen, whether or not we know he's going to stay, Harry Kane. It's a good mix.
Yeah, and it needs it as well.
Yeah.
It needs a change.
And I mean, in terms of Jose Mourinho's system, the way he wants to play, how do, I mean, all these players fit in, but particularly Bergwijn, how will he fit into this Mourinho's system?
Well, at the moment, Lucas Moura and Son are playing nearly every game. Yeah. And, Lucas looked like tired over the last few weeks. I personally like Lucas coming off the bench a lot of the time. Son, he's had suspensions. Eric Lamela, again, gets a lot of injuries. Spurs need bodies as well. They've got another cup replay. They've got the Champions League coming up as well. They're desperate to get in the top 4 as well. It's a signing that was out of the blue, but a very welcome one. So they've added a body. Jose Mourinho obviously likes him a lot, but I know Spurs have been looking at him for some time as well. Are you going to directly replace Eriksen? No. Are you going to change your style of play a little bit? Yes. Is Lo Celso going to be a bit of a crucial box-to-box player, a bit like Modric back in the day? Possibly.
Yeah, in terms of other potential signings, obviously they've been eyeing up Christoph Piontek. We've just got a bit of a development on that. AC Milan have rejected a bid from Bundesliga side Hertha Berlin for Tottenham target Piontek. The German side were keen on a permanent deal for the striker, but Milan considered their offer to be too low. And Tottenham, they do remain in talks with Milan, but are yet to agree a deal for Piontek. Michael, do you see this one going through before Friday?
Maybe. Yeah. Well, because Tottenham need a striker. It's as simple as that, and he does fit the mould. 24, and he bit an out-and-out number 9, which Tottenham are crying out for. I was at the Southampton game on Saturday, crying out for a striker. It's it's so frustrating if you're a Spurs fan. So if he's the one, William Jose, 28, uncapped Brazilian. They're asking for a lot of money. This is why Giroud is on a list, but it's a wait and see.
And we know Tottenham have a long list of players that they are looking at. But the fact that, as we were talking maybe a couple of weeks ago, fortnight ago, about Tottenham's interest in Piontek, now, is it something that they put on hold and put on ice and are now returning to? We were asked for our deadline day predictions on the latest Transfer Talk podcast, and I said that I didn't think Tottenham would sign a striker. I know. But maybe maybe the prayers of Tottenham fans are the answers. I'll put a word in.
Maybe so indeed. Yeah, no, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens between now and Friday. Right, let's move on. Don't forget, you can download the latest episode of the Transfer Talk podcast that Dave was on this week. You recorded it yesterday, Dave, was it? Yes.
Sensational.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine. It's available for you on the Sky Sports website, Spreaker and on iTunes. And next up, we'll have news from the EFL as well as developments at Sheffield United.
In the Championship, shall we? News just reaching us that Scott Hogan has been recalled from his loan spell at Stoke to join Birmingham City on loan for the rest of the season from Aston Villa. Interesting, that. Right then, Nottingham Forest head coach Seferino Mucci insists in-demand Matty Cash will not be leaving this month. The right-back is wanted by various clubs, including AC Milan and West Ham. For West Brom, they've completed the signing of Callum Robinson from Sheffield United. He joins on loan until the end of the season. Bristol City. Now, they're one of a number of Championship clubs wanting to sign Burnley striker Nahki Wells. His teammate at Turf Moor, Matty Vidra, is also a target for many clubs in the division. And we had Sol Bamba on the show yesterday talking about his future. Well, his manager at Cardiff, Neil Harris, insists he isn't thinking about letting him leave the club this January. So it's a fascinating time at the top of the Championship. And could an extra player or two really make the difference for sides in that promotion hunt?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Anton, because actually there's plenty of teams in contention in that race for promotion. It's Leeds, West Brom, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Brentford, Bristol City is the current top six, but there's so many teams even below them in the hunt as well. Let's start looking at the ones at the top. Dave, West Brom, do they have work to do in this window?
Potentially, but they have done some work today in bringing in Callum Robinson. They're 2 points behind Leeds at the top of the table. And, I mean, they are rocking a little bit, aren't they, West Bromwich Albion at the moment, without a winning 7 in the Championship. And West Brom were 12 points clear of third place as recently as December the 14th. That just shows you how things have gone over the last month and a bit for West Bromwich Albion. I think Callum Robinson is a player that we profiled in the summer shows. We did a piece with Ali and George from the Not the Top 20 podcast profiling him. Player who links the play extremely well, can get goals as well, plays all across the front line. And I think it fits the profile really of what Slaven Bilic was looking for in this window. He's looking for a versatile, wide attacking player who can both score and create goals. And I think Callum Robinson fits the bill perfectly. It's obviously not gone as he would have hoped at Sheffield United. He's not got the run of games that he would have liked, and perhaps his position as well hasn't played to his strengths that often, and there's obviously been players ahead of him in Chris Wilder's plans at Sheffield United. But certainly I think West Bromwich Albion have got themselves a good player in Callum Robinson. They've actually been extremely efficient in front of goal this season, West Bromwich Albion, outperforming their XG, so is Slaven Bilic expecting that to drop off come the end of the season? They're actually pretty good in front of goal. Their shot conversion rate is the fourth best, I should say, in the Championship this season. But certainly Callum Robinson is one who will add strength and depth to that West Bromwich Albion squad.
What about Forest? 4 points off the top. Michael, you spoke to Lamouchi on Monday. Did he give any clues, any hints as to whether there'll be any more potential incomings?
Well, he said firstly he was so proud of his players of the season they have, and he didn't want to disrespect them, the current crop, by talking about players coming in. But he did say he wants nice presence and not bad presence. I'm assuming Matty Cash leaving would be a bad present, who was fantastic against Brentford last night. I was at the game. Both really high standard, fantastic game, and Forest winning 1-0. The two players they're linked with are Glenn Murray and Luke Freeman of Sheffield United. I'd assume Glenn Murray would maybe be a free if he's out of contract, and Freeman would be a loan if it were to happen. Looking at them, I thought they were pretty good going forward as well. They've got Sammy Amiobi and Lewis Grabban. They're looking for maybe an extra body up front. But yeah, I mean, I've been very, very impressed with Forest this season. It was a joy to speak to Lamouchi, very entertaining. And he did say he'd like one or two, but he's just waiting. He's basically saying he's more of a head coach and he just waits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was refreshing to talk to him in terms of I'm not ruling anything out. So yeah, a bit of a wait and see for Forest fans.
Yeah, Leeds leading the way at the moment. Anton, do you think there's any concerns for them as they look to the Friday deadline in terms of what they need to do if they want to secure automatic promotion?
I think don't downplay the signing of Jean-Kevin Augustin, to be honest. I mean, he is a huge signing, and Leeds second top scorers in the division, but they've only scored one goal before last night in January. So him coming in really gives you a sort of sense of momentum. It's a real statement, I think, by Leeds. Dave going on about sort of, going the forensic sort of nature of West Brom and how good they've been in front of goal this season. Talking about how they've outperformed their XG. I'm just going to give you the hype basically around this, because sometimes a signing can just lift everyone. And the raucous crowd at Ellen Road and just the feel-good factor around that club may well, and that hostile environment that's created sometimes in games, may well be enough to get Leeds those extra couple of points. Augustin will just he's a player that gets himself about a bit as well. I really think he could make an impact. That intangible effect on a promotion charge that could happen here at Leeds. Leeds looking really good. Yes, I mean, anyone that plays for Bielsa is going to get tired at some point. I think it's a dip. Obviously, they've had a dip in form, but that win last night, I think, was absolutely huge coming back from against Millwall. They've got a big name in, a player that, we've all heard in the newsroom, apparently even late interest from Manchester United, for Augustin. So a player that really wants to play for Leeds. The fans are going to love him. And I think, like I said, this intangible could put Leeds over the top.
Yeah. And I said at the start of this segment that there's lots of teams out with that top six still in contention. It's really exciting in the Championship. But Addy, who could you see challenging in this race for promotion, and is it dependent on what they do in this window? Yeah,
it certainly is. I like Cardiff City. Obviously, we had Sol Bamba here, centre-back for Cardiff City yesterday. Great guy. Made it, by the way, to West Brom, obviously that train ride. They're 12th in the table right now, coming off a good win yesterday against West Brom, a 2-1 victory, but they're only 5 points off the playoffs. That's how tight it is in that Championship right now. They do lack goals going forward. You look at the sort of top goal scorers right now. Lee Tomlin, 6 goals. Danny Ward, 6 goals. Aidan Flint, 5 goals. So they do need a striker. And they've identified Kiefer Moore as someone they're looking at. Currently at Wigan, not been the best of seasons for him so far at Wigan, but obviously Wigan are in the relegation places as well, so that's probably understandably why he's not maybe hit the top form he did at Barnsley, where he was like a 1 in 2 goal scorer. So they can get him, they can turn a lot of the draws, and that's what they've had since Neil Harris sort of joined the club in November 2019. His win percentage is very low at 37.5%, but that's because he's had so many draws. Of the 16 games they've had, 8 have been draws. If they can get a striker, they can convert those draws into wins. They can move right up the table and they look for a playoff spot. Yeah,
and what about Swansea? I mean, they're also in the mix, Anton. Is their business that they've done in this window reflective of their intentions to be in that race for promotion? I think so. I think Steve Cooper's come out and said as well that if they can get a couple of players out, they'd like to bring in 1 or 2 more before Friday night as well. So it's interesting. Swansea, they're having a sneaky good season. They're up to 8th. They're 2 points off the playoffs. And the players they brought in are players that Steve Cooper knows from the England setup. He's brought in Conor Gallagher, who's been brilliant for the last season and a half. He's brought in Ryan Brewster, of course. I mean, you don't get much more of a kind of high-profile player coming down from the Premier League than Ryan Brewster. We've been talking about him for what seems like 2 years. And Mark Gurry as well from Chelsea. So he's bringing in players not just that are looking to make a statement, but also that he knows. I think that's crucial as well. And if Swansea can bring another body in before Friday night, maybe up front because they are the lowest scorers in the top half, they could push up. They could push up the table. Yeah, well, there is just coming into us now, actually, just want to bring you a line from Wigan. They will consider a move for former Arsenal left-back Cohen Bramall. That's if they lose Anthony Robinson before Friday's deadline. Robinson, a bit of a shock target, it's fair to say, for AC Milan, but the Italian club need to move Ricardo Rodriguez on before signing another left-back themselves this month. Rodriguez has been in talks with several clubs, and a loan to Napoli had appeared the most likely destination, but there is yet to be an agreement. Bramall, he's 23 years old, currently impressing at Colchester. Wigan scouts actually watched him in that 3-1 win over Swindon last night. So yeah, looks like Wigan are considering a move for the former Arsenal left-back Cohen Bramall if they lose Anthony Robinson before Friday. I just want to quickly pick up on Sheffield United because they are closing in on a deal to sign Dutch striker Richaro Zivkovic. Chris Wilder, of course, looking to add some more pace to his attacking options after letting striker Callum Robinson join West Brom on loan until the end of the season. Just quickly, Anton, what kind of player is this?
More of a target man, more kind of similar to Ollie McBurney, to be brutally honest, but came through the youth system at Ajax, had a couple of loan spells where he didn't quite work at Willem II and Utrecht, and so they decided to cash in on him, went to Belgium, and then he's made the move to Changchun Yatai, who were in the Championship in China, so not at the top level. And they've decided clearly to let him go as well. So they didn't get promoted last season, so they clearly decided to move on from him. But he's a player with a point to prove.
Yeah, and we've got about 20 seconds. Do Sheffield United need to do more before Friday?
Sander Berge is the big one, isn't it? That's what we're waiting for. Highly coveted player amongst not just Sheffield United, but a lot of clubs in Europe as well. If they can get that done, that will be mission accomplished for Chris Wilder in this window.
Your passports, Sheffield United first.
Well, that is mission accomplished for Transfer Talk today. Thank you very much to Michael, to Addy, to Anton and to Dave. Don't forget that Good Morning Transfers is back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Join us then. And Transfer Talk returns tomorrow. That is from midday. And then tonight, Arma Chef, Kavi Solokol, they both return with the Transfer Show. That continues at 7 o'clock tonight with all the latest developments. So yeah, that clock is ticking down. Not long to go until the transfer window closes. Make sure you stay tuned. All the latest updates is coming on Transfer Centre right here on Sky Sports News. That's coming next. We'll see you again at 9 o'clock tomorrow.